By this time, we have young children, and I'm sitting in a ballpark watching my son play baseball. And one of the moms said, "Hey, can you cater a lunch for me tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Okay, I've never catered before, but sure." And no, I didn't cater pizza. I catered tamales, which I had never made before in my life.
Welcome to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast, where we explore the ins and outs of the seven figure journey. We are privileged to have with us today Mary Krikorian, who is the founder of Vibrant Occasions Catering. Mary, welcome to the show. Uh, Calling out of it was Arkansas, right? Well, what I love about talking with small business owners is, I mean, first of all, we're everywhere. Second, we are the backbone of the economy. It's through us. Everyone else serves us. We're the ones the big businesses sell to, right? So, uh, I love that this is what builds the heart of the U.S. and many other countries and economies. So, thank you for the great work you do as an entrepreneur. Um, Tell us, Mary, how did you get started in this catering business? How long have you been doing this? Just a little backstory for us.
Okay, so we kind of fell into catering backwards. We didn't intend to be caterers. We owned a carry-out and delivery pizza restaurant back in the 90s. My husband and I did. And we got into that because we went to grad school to own our own business, and that was the only one we could afford. So we bought this little rundown carry-out delivery pizza business, took it to the top 1% in the nation for independent pizza restaurants. At that point, we were in our 20s. We thought we were all that. We thought we knew everything about everything. And so we decided to open up a dine-in catering, and we failed spectacularly. So we came back out of dine-in catering and went back into our carry-out and delivery pizza business. By this time, we have young children, and I'm sitting in a ballpark watching my son play baseball. And one of the moms said, "Hey, can you cater a lunch for me tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Okay, I've never catered before, but sure." And no, I didn't cater pizza. I catered tamales, which I had never made before in my life. But from there, my catering business just exploded. It just overnight, I'm getting orders left and right to the point that we shut down pizza and became caterers. And so that was 22 years ago.
I
So
mean,
we've been catering ever since.
I, I rarely talk with an entrepreneur who doesn't have the big failure stories that came in the path, and I love the way that you found yours. You know, the first one was we have something established, we bought. Then we got crazy entrepreneurial, and we jumped after something we thought would work. And
Hmm.
then finally, we just listened to the customers and we
Yes.
plain went after the demand that was there already, right?
Yes, that's it. That's what happened. And it's been a building process over the years. My husband and I have been married for 36 years.
Oh,
We've
congratulations.
worked together since 94, but we do completely different things in our business. He, the way I explain it to people is he's the eagle that's flying above the tree line, and he is seeing all the everything that's going on, and he's up there plotting a course through the forest for us to get to our end goal. And then he sends me down with an axe, and I hack down the trees to get to where he wants to be.
You're,
So it's it
you're the
it,
one who
it
can
works.
execute a big plan, huh?
Yes, yes, yes.
That's,
And if you're familiar with the Enneagram personalities, my husband is a seven and I am a one. And being a seven means he has all of these ideas, all of these thought processes, and we call him the happy monkey. He bounces from one thing to the next. And as a one, I'm very meticulous about how I do things. I have checklists of my checklists. If I do something during the day that's not on a checklist, I write it down so that I can cross it off. And so it works with him
yeah.
bouncing and me, you know, taking care of the details.
That's the perfect yin and yang on that, right? Not
It
necessarily to
works.
say together we're just happy oohing and awing, but together we go and create something. That's the perfect yin and yang. No, have something
Yeah.
you're going to go build. Wow, what a partnership!
Yeah. It works most days.
That's all we ask.
Sometimes it's
That's all
hard
we
to
ask.
find things to talk about when we go home at night because we shared the same day. But it's worked so far.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that probably saves you that. So my wife and I, we have a walk at the end of every day. I come back, we put the kids on, they read their books at that time, they have their quiet time, and we just walk. We go and we walk. So we have all that catch up, and sometimes it's a lot of laps. And for the two of
Yeah.
you, by the time you're home, you're already caught up on everything. So,
We are, but what's weird is that we cook.
uh,
So at the end of almost every day, people are like, "Why do you cook? You own a catering company. Just get some food and take it home." But that's our walking process. That's our
yeah,
wind down
that's your
and,
connection.
talking about other things.
That's
Yeah.
cool. That's really neat. Uh, Rhythms that create relationships, right? There's something to that for our business too, and not just our marriages, right?
Yes.
Powerful thought. Wait, I mean, you've been growing your business for a while. You've built up a great team. You passed the $1 million mark a while ago. What have you learned since then? Since you've had this larger business going, what have you? What's helped? What are some nuggets you could share with us?
Okay. When we started out, we had a very different mindset than we do now. Um, we thought of the business as ours. It was ours to do with. We were the ones that were financially on the line for it. We were the ones that were responsible for making decisions. We were the ones that had to make sure that the bills got paid and the employees got paid and the lights stayed on. And so it was ours to manage. It was ours to be do everything for,
Yeah,
to make all the decisions. Where we are 20 something years later, right here, right now, we realize that we are just the smallest little component of this amazing company that we work in, and that our staff are really the heart and soul of our company. And so, several years ago, we made a switch to heart leadership where we recognize our staff for what they really are. They are the face of our company to the public. My husband and I are not the ones out there actually executing the caterings. It's my staff. And if my staff are happy, then that translates to happy guests and happy customers, and it makes them willing to come to work on a daily basis and do this gosh awful hard job, out in the heat in Arkansas. But it really, now it's no longer my husband and I making the decisions. I have a management team. I have a leadership team that meets about, well, we meet several times a week, but every week we come together to discuss different aspects of the business, and they have as much say in what we do and how we do it as my husband and I do. Ultimately, we make the final decision, but we listen to the input of the people who are on the front lines of our business and who are actually executing what we do.
I, I just, I mean, that is powerful. And we've seen it over and over again. After you've got, say, 10 full-time employees plus, you can't touch all of the business anymore. You just can't. And if you don't
No.
make a shift like you just talked about, but yours wasn't just now we've shifted over some accountability and we've handed some responsibility. Yours was a shift from my company to our with the team. Like there was this internal shift saying, wait a second, I want them to own this in their hearts. I want them
Yes.
to care, and so I need to care. And I'm going to build process around it, and I'm going to trust them, and I'm going to believe in them and help to build them. I mean, you changed from being a caterer to being a people builder, a team builder,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and
That's
you're
that's
like, I'm
exactly
in a
it.
new
And
business now.
and they have ownership in our company. They care. During Christmas is our busiest time of year by far. I had line cooks that spent the night in the building because they had turkeys in the oven and they needed to be rotated through the night. So they slept in the break that they chose to. We didn't ask them to. They came to us and said, "Is it okay if we spend the night so that we can get all of these turkeys cooked for the caterings tomorrow?" And we're like, "Well, where are you going to stay? We'll put you in a hotel." "No, we don't want to be in a hotel. We want to be here because we're going to be going back and forth to the kitchen to rotate these things through. And they did that twice last year during the holidays. And if people don't care, if people don't love what they do, they don't do things like that.
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
they show up, they clock in, they do their job, they clock out. But we don't expect people to leave to get to the work door and leave their personal lives outside and come in as just a business, an employee. We expect them to bring their whole selves to work, and we deal with them as a whole person, not just you're here to do a job and then go home.
Yeah. I mean, the difference that must make in your customer satisfaction, in your profit margins, right? The revenue line,
Yes.
everything, in your
Yes.
retention of your team, which in a service business like yours is everything. Like the retention of good talent predicts the rest of it, right? It just
Yes,
does.
yes. It really, my if you polled my staff, and we have about 75 right now, full and part-time staff that work for us. If you polled them, probably 95% of them would tell you they are related to or good friends with somebody else that works here.
Yeah.
So my staff recruit their own to come work here, which is pretty amazing.
That that speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. Nobody can do that if when they leave work they go home, or when they go to their Thanksgiving meal or Christmas or whatever, that they're complaining about the boss. They can't exactly recruit the people.
Right. Right.
But but yours are the few that when they come, they're like, no, I like my job. I've got a great boss. It's kind of neat. I mean, we have late nights, but we have a lot of fun late at night together, or whatever
Yes.
else,
Yes.
right? Bragging
Yes, and
about a
and it's
job.
not me and my husband that they're talking about when they talk about having great bosses. They're
Yeah,
talking about the team leaders that are out there that are also recognizing the need to have heart leadership in a company, and they are treating, my husband and I can't be everywhere all the time. It's our leadership team that is really doing a great job with that.
I love that. And let's dive in on a couple things, because many of us will have never heard the term heart leadership. So that's one thing. I want you to define, where did you get this from? If someone wants to dive into it more, and then a second piece that I want to talk about more is, you weren't always like this, so what changed? And so, because some of us
Okay.
need to go through that change, right? Or
Yes.
or we're wanting to change, we just don't see how to get there. We're not certain if we can, because the business school we went to didn't say heart leadership, neither did yours, right?
No, it did not.
Or the school of hard knocks didn't always teach us that. We didn't always have great leaders and people we were working with, and we may have gotten a little jaded. So tell me first, what is heart leadership? Can you just define what you mean by that, Mary?
Heart leadership means recognizing and treating your staff for what they really are, which is your most valuable asset. They are the faces of your company, they are the voice of your company. They are the ones that have all of the personal interaction with clients and their guests and the world in general. And so if they aren't in the right mindset, and if they don't believe in your company and believe in what you do, and buy into the value that your company has, then that interaction with the outside world is negative. And so when you recognize them as your most valuable asset and treat them that way, and I don't mean monetarily, I don't mean, that you have to offer all the best benefits. I don't mean, because it's not about the money to them. It's about how they are respected and how they are treated, that makes a difference in how they view this job.
Nice.
Did that answer that? It's
I think
hard to
that comes across
describe.
well. And you probably turned to some thought leader when you were first learning about and thinking about this.
We did. There's two prongs to that process. My husband is much more of a information seeker when it comes to finding out ways to improve how we do what we do. And so he found Mark Miller. Mark
Mhm.
Miller was the heart guru for Chick-fil-A. He's the one, you know,
Yeah.
the Chick-fil-A, for for the my pleasure. That's what the Chick-fil-A verbiage is. My
That's right.
pleasure. You've gone through a Chick-fil-A, you say thank you and they say my pleasure. Mark Miller has multiple books out there on heart leadership and why the Chick-fil-A culture is what it is. And so my husband found that, and then he found a heart leadership conference in Denver, that's run by Footers Catering there in Denver. We had crossed paths with the owners of Footers Catering, Anthony and April Lambatos, several years ago, at some of the catering conferences that we attend. And they actually implemented heart leadership into their culture there at Footers, and we're beginning to teach it to other caterers and event professionals. And so my husband said, "Do you want to go to Denver for this heart leadership conference?" And I heard, "Do you want to go to Denver?" And so I wasn't going for the heart leadership. I was going for Denver. I wanted to go to Denver. And we got there. I had no idea what to expect, no expectations. I didn't know what anything about heart leadership. And it changed my view of the world. I did a 180 in Denver that changed my view of how businesses can and should be run versus what we were currently doing and how we were currently thinking. And it was a room full of industry professionals, wedding industry professionals, primarily caterers, but there were other professions there. And when I say that the box of Kleenex in the middle of every table was necessary, it was very necessary because at one point or another, we all boohooed, and it's not a kumbaya kind of boohoo, just I can't believe I was so stupid to
Yeah.
have thought that what I was doing was the right thing for so long and to realize that it can be different. So we came back from Denver full of all of this, this is how we're going to move. And to the credit of my leadership team, to the last one, they bought into it. They said, "You know what? This sounds like a good idea. Let's do this." So we started doing monthly sessions with the Heart Leadership team from Denver, where they would teach me some kind of team building exercise, some kind of, we started out with rewriting our core values
Yep.
because
That's a key
every
right
company
there.
has core values that they come up with, they print them, they put them on the wall, and they quickly forget about them.
Yeah.
And so my management team as a whole rewrote our core values, and now we teach core values. That's something that we do on a regular basis. Is It's not just words on a wall, it's words that we live by. You know, it's grin and all: growth, innovation, balance, integrity, and awesomeness. And we live by those on a daily basis. But anyway, my management team bought into it. We spent a year doing monthly workshops, and it wasn't an overnight process. It was a building process. We did personality evaluation, personality test, where we realized that everybody has a different personality. And just because you say something and it's very clear in your head what you mean by what you're saying, doesn't mean that the person hearing it heard what you were saying. They heard something else.
Yeah.
And that allows us to now look at each other and say, okay, what I just heard you say is that what you meant to say? And 99.9% of the time, it was not. It's just different personalities perceiving something differently. So that was a big change for us.
Nice. But what I'm hearing, and people can, I mean, the nice thing about podcasts, people are able to rewind and go over this and over again. Your change, you had a boom aha moment. I mean,
Yes.
you listen, you're like, oh my goodness. All along, I've been living with some, and I'm just going to put words in your mouth now because you didn't say this. So maybe I'm being self-reflective here. You know, all along, I've been living a certain way, thinking, well, that's just business. This is the way it's done.
Hmm.
And and but my normal life, I acted maybe differently. And so I have this dissonance. I'm one person at work, I'm another person at
Yes.
home. And this balancing that, and sometimes they're bleeding into each other, and that's not so good in funny ways and whatever, right? But this dissonance. And then you get this, oh my goodness, this can really be, I'm allowed to be this way at work. and it can be
Mm-hmm.
successful. You're like, wow. And luckily, you're the one that had the aha because you're the boots on the ground. Let's go get her done. Right. So you talked with this leadership team, which kudos for having found a good team because it was already
Yes.
in them. It was already in them. And then you began this co-creative process. Instead of saying, so here's who we are, you started to say, wait, it can be theirs too. Let's create it
Yes.
together. So you began to create it together and you said, let's identify who we are and who belongs with us. Then you started to realize, and you know what? We need to improve our skills in some of this area. If we're going to lead with our heart, we better not trample on them so frequently.
Yes.
Right? And so
Yeah.
personality test is just another way of saying now we need to see each other, make room for each
Yes.
other, and help each other become their greatest selves and make sure that our communication, the way we connect, is aligned and moving forward clearly. So you began doing regular things to say there's a way to tap into the greatness within each person and use their whole selves instead of just their brain and their brawn. We're going to tap into their heart also, have their whole selves come to work. And that's what you've been doing. And I can already tell you're never looking back. You haven't for years.
No. And the added benefit to that that was unforeseen is that after going through the process, individually, the leadership's members came and said, this changed my personal life.
Yeah.
This changed how I behave with my spouse, with my children, with other people in my lives. It has improved my relationships across the board, which was not our initial intent, but it was a really good fringe benefit that showed up.
Yeah, and starts to become a driving purpose later, right? Like,
Yes.
you're like, oh, I had no idea, and it does it for a couple of reasons, right? I mean, both because now they're serving something great at work, and so they've got this great energy. They're happy, they're feeling fulfilled and meaningful, and so they come home and kiss their spouse instead of kicking their dog, right? That's the lame thing I like to
Yes.
say. It's just a shift, right? There's a shift on that, and then the second thing, they're learning the skills and they're saying I can do this at home,
Yeah.
right? I'm learning what it's like to really lead well with heart. So it's not about the task at hand, it's about the relationship being built, and the task is just there as an excuse, a context to build a better relationship, to solve future problems together, to grow and to build. And what a powerful way. This is why I say entrepreneurs are the heart. It's not just an economic engine. This is where people learn so many things. It can benefit in their families, in their communities. Um, it can happen here if you lead with your heart. Mary, you're just sharing some massive nuggets. I love this. But, well, you're here now. You're doing this work. What is your next challenge? If we were, maybe we can add something. Maybe we can help a little bit. What's your next challenge? What are you working on that perhaps we can help with on the call?
Um, we are right now, we're in the process of taking our leadership team to the next level to because well, Mark Miller, I'm going to go back to Mark Miller for a minute. Mark Miller has a really great book called Chess Not Checkers. And the concept behind the book is that when we start out in a business, we're all checker pieces because checkers can move, they all move in the
I'll do
same
the same
direction,
thing.
they all do the same thing. And so all everybody's doing everything. I've washed dishes, I've cooked food, I've delivered caterings, I've done
Yeah.
the bookkeeping, but as you grow and as you start to level up, I guess is the word, you need to start playing chess. You need to have specialized pieces that do specialized things for the company. And not everybody's doing everything. This person over here is handling HR, and that's what they're good at, and that's what they're doing. And this person over here is handling finance, and that's what they're good at. And this person is my savory chef, and this person is my bakery chef. And we're working on getting, because we're still mid growth where we all still wear multiple hats, we
Yeah.
all still do multiple jobs, but we are trying to develop people to step into the shoes that my management team is in now, and let the management team rise and lead more than actually
Manage.
hands on doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And and why do you see that as important for your business and for your team?
I think it's important because when you're down in the trenches fighting the war, it's hard to see the field. It's hard to see where what you need to do and how you need to do it. And if we can get people to pull up and look around and analyze what's going on and figure out what are the new catering trends, what are, what am what are my employees asking for? What do we need to do differently? Then it just leads to overall growth and prosperity.
Yeah. No, I love that. And in fact, it's a spot where I don't know the numbers within catering where this really fits, but let's say in a traditional business and just this team size, when you have full time employees and you're between, say, 25 and 35 full time employees, right about that spot, if we haven't shifted and learned how to really own different things really well and learn how to lead other leaders, if we ourselves haven't learned how to lead other leaders, allow them to lead and not just manage, but to really lead, if we don't shift to that, we're kind of a bottleneck for everything because
Yes,
the
and
fruit.
that's where we're at. We're
Okay.
in that 25 to 35 range right now. And it's hard
Yeah.
because, my leadership team is my most experienced team. They're the
Yeah.
ones that have been with us the longest. They're the ones that did all the jobs in the beginning and know how to do them and know how to do them better and faster and more accurately than the newer staff that's come in. But unless we can get younger, or not younger, newer staff up and going, leadership's never going to be able to pull up and look around and see what else needs to get done.
Yeah. Okay. I'm seeing this. You're at this spot. You're like, okay, I need more people leading the business. Maybe not at 40,000 feet, but at least at 10,000. Right? More of them leading in their arena like that, so everybody else's work gets better and better. Because when they're doing that, better processes can be built, better alliances, meaning like affiliates with other businesses, can start to happen and connections. Uh, Better tech can be used, better whatever, right?
Yeah.
New recipes can be created that go faster, simpler, and yet tastier and more pleasing to the eyes. Whatever it is that we're trying to create an ideal customer journey, maybe that journey itself needs to shift. But who's able to take time to look at that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not um, pizza delivery anymore, and it's time to do some tamale catering and start something brand new. But someone's got to see where the customers have moved to, and so I
Yeah.
love this. Um, and when we do that, what happens is that when we're individual caterers, let's say we make the business 50 to $100 an hour from my work, right? That's the value of my work. I'm out there doing. I'm making 50 to $100 an hour for the business. That's the value I put in. And then when I learn to lead other caterers, I start to be valued more like $500 to $1,000 an hour. That's the kind of value I'm bringing because I'm
Mhm.
helping many learn how to do a great job, right? Every little change I make affects 10 or 15 people or 20 people, right? And it's expanded through them. And then when I learn how to lead leaders, I'm playing at the $10,000 an hour kind of work. So how do I begin to let go of $100 an hour, $1,000 an hour work and do this $10,000 an hour work? And how do we build our business to get there? Right. This is kind of the key. And I know dollars aren't the only thing, but it's a way to demonstrate a value creation. So so a first step that I think is very helpful in this is as the team is looking, you've done your core values together. If you're super clear on a mission, and when I mean mission, I mean more like a military one, like we're storming this hill by this time, and this is the like right, like measurable, big thing that we're going to go do sometime in the next 3, 4, 5 years. we're out there, we're trying to create this. If we could take a little bit of time together and envision this is where we're headed. So here's who I am, here's our values, here's that's who we are. Here's why we're here, there's our purpose. And then there's this, what are we going to go do? What's the really cool thing? That's our mission. We get that really clear and we get our strategy and how we're going to go and do that. Um, then we start to say, well, if our strategy was, and now we start shifting. The strategy is going to make us either the easiest catering company in the world to ever work with that delights people the most. Or maybe it's the highest quality that every time you get the exact same thing, no variance, right? We've taken out variance. There's no worry. There's no surprise. Delightness, right? But there's no variance. It's exact. Um, or most innovative, or cheapest price, or the fastest. You call, we're there. Changes made, we're instant, right? Whatever it is that you're competing on matters to us, because then we're going to organize the work. And this is part of the envisioning. We talked about 3 to 5 years from now. Now I want you to say, okay, if that's the end of the mission, 2027, what will our organization have to look like to pull it off? And think, what are the roles? I'm going to need this role. Like, if we're going to be the fastest, I've got to have somebody who's like the master of like sort of the control tower at the airport. Right? So many things moving, and we're managing this high stress position. Who doesn't touch a plate, but is running everything, and they can see everything. They have, you may even have a tower erected so they can look, and I don't know, right? But, but maybe you have some key roles that you don't have today. You have a version of it, but not so elevated. Or we have to have somebody who is like who is our process engineer, that all they're doing is reworking all the processes to get them to work faster. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, process engineer. We don't have a process engineer today. I know, but you're going to. And we've got a couple people in our team that we think could really get there, because that's where they lean towards. But you start first putting out the roles that will be critical. And some of those roles, you're going to say, well, if we're going to create vibrant, 10,000 vibrant occasions in 2027 or something, and they're like, wow, that's really big. And then you say, well, how much staff will we need? How many team members? How much leadership is going to need to be there to ensure they get onboarded the way they need to? And I mean direct supervisor level. How many people are going to be needed to support all of them and to set direction in each of the areas? How will we divide the work? Like, is someone going to be the expert at hiring and onboarding people? And a team around there, what's that going to need to look like? So you just start imagining together. And you can imagine just writing different job names, roles, stick them up on the wall, move them around, put in new ones until you have an organization chart to say, well, in 2027, we would have to be like this then. And we get a vision for it. Then we start going through and we say, and what would the requirements be that each of those roles, what are the results they have to deliver? Not all the work. I don't want a list of 20 tasks. I want they need to deliver this result key and maybe these two others. And we start seeing that. And you start, what it does is it starts to make the roles more clear. This person needs to deliver this role does, and they have these people to help them. And they all do their part in helping to make this happen. So you're envisioning the future first before anything. Then you start thinking, who's kind of filling that role today? They don't get to do it all right, but you start putting the names of your own team right into it. We call it living into that organization chart. And you'll be like, oh, look, why is Susan? Well, Susan's got about 4 of those roles now. We're going to need to help her find what she's best at and really help her develop into that spot and hire behind her as we
Mm-hmm.
move around, or share responsibilities to some other people as we develop Susan into that space where she can really excel. And there may be some spaces where, like, we don't have anyone in that. We may start needing to start hiring somebody now that we can work into that space, or that is ready to be in that space that fits our culture, those values you listed off already. But that for me has been a great first step, is with the team, envisioning what we look like, seeing their names on the board, and then even asking them, Are there any of these spots you want to be in? I want to understand their desire, because if they have desire, we can find a way usually. But if they have no desire, even if they have the ability, we're not going to get them there. So having these discussions and seeing and start saying, okay, I can see what it is 5 years from now, 4 years from now. What about the end of this year? Let's do a mini one. What would be our first steps to get there? We're going to have to look like this at the end of this year to be ready for next year's level of growth and opportunity. But that's one way, is first just to roadmap out what are the ideal positions. Otherwise, we grow kind of like houses that people keep putting additions on, and it kind of looks clunky and it flows funny inside. That's how it feels in your business if you don't think through it just a little bit ahead of time. So there's a first thought. Is that helpful? Would you rather we went a different direction?
No, that's very helpful. We're actually we have that um, started. It's obviously it's hard to flesh it all out right here, right now. We know where we want to be in 2027. We know who we want to be. We know who our ideal customer is.
Nice.
I'm not the least expensive. I'm not the fastest. I am not, same. But I do have people that are really, really, really good at what they do, and they're worth every penny you spend on us to come and make your event something that your guests will be talking about for months and months and months afterwards. We have people that come up to us in public. My husband is the executive chef. You're Chef Serge. I had your food at so and so's wedding last year and it was amazing. And those are the moments that you realize that you're doing something right with what you're doing. You're getting something right. Um, but yeah, we have a plan. We're not as active at working at it as you described, which we probably need to be. We need to be more active at actually, because you get bogged down in the day-to-day details, and
Absolutely.
that's why
Absolutely.
we're trying to get our management team to level up and get somebody down here doing the
What they're
everyday
doing.
tasks that management gets sucked into.
One of the keys, and this is on the forest floor doing the work that can make a difference, is when that's clear, and then everyone in the company knows today's organization chart and who has what responsibilities, then a person who is, let's say, they're a head server or something, they know the person right above them exactly what their responsibility is to deliver. They know that these are the results they have to deliver and how I, as the head server, help them deliver that result. But it's not just that I know, which aligns my work better and I can do a better job, but I know I have a responsibility to understand how to execute each one of their deliverables. So I'm constantly trained. And that person above me and the person above them have the job to train me to fill their role so that there's redundancy throughout. What it does is it builds that. So now everyone knows, yeah, I have to do my job. But in my spare time or when I'm thinking, I have to think, how would I do their job? In fact, I'm pulled in at times to do their job. When they're out of town, I'm pulled in. Or when they're in town, I'm asked to run a task that helps deliver one of those results. And so everyone has a job, a responsibility to know how to do their job and the job right above theirs at all times. That becomes a regular thing. What that does is it creates limitless ability to grow, because you now have everyone who reports to them capable of doing their job. If they've been there for 6, 7, 8 months, they can do a good chunk of the job. So if they're out, it's not like they can dream and create everything we want them to do, but they can run it. And that's the first step,
Right.
right? They could run that job. They understand what it takes. They know how to log in and do the stuff. They can do anything that the job above them is responsible for. That may
Yeah,
be
I love that.
forest floor, but it
I
does.
think that's great. Yeah, I've
Anyway,
told all my
there's a
leadership and the second level of leadership, they need to work themselves out of a job. They need to
that's
do
exactly
such
right.
a good job at training the people that work for them to do their job that they work themselves out of a job.
Terrific. And this is just the practical way that everyone knows. So, what is your job? I have to deliver this, this, and this result. Can this person deliver those results if they were in your role? They could run it and run the game plan. They know exactly how to do this part, this part, this part, and this part, which is what's generating those results. Good. Do the other people that report to you do also? Because I don't want just one backup. I want endless backups, right? So no failure points in the business. Um, Very cool. And I actually, that one I didn't get from theory. Having taught and shared with our community and some of the more inner circle parts of our community, some of them have started just doing this and have showed me how powerful they have made the use of their organization chart. It's not a sketch on the wall. It's this like it's a written out success path for people and a risk reduction tool that they use for their business on the regular. Everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. We know that no ball will be dropped, and it also means you have redundancy and ready to go leadership. So, wait, cool. That's an in practice done in blue collar to white collar kind of work. So great talking with you today, Mary. Like our time is up, but how would people get in touch with you if they wanted a vibrant occasion put on for them and they're in your territory and area? How would they contact you?
They can go onto my website, vibrantoccasionscatering.com. Phone numbers there. There's email links. All the email links come to me. So that would be the easiest way for people to find us.
Great. And maybe they want to contact you to teach them a little more about the practicality of heart leadership and what it looks
Well,
like.
as you can tell, I love talking about heart leadership.
I
It
can. That's
is
why I thought I'd offer it up.
it's something that I truly believe in. I not only drank the lemonade, I now make it. So,
I love it.
it is something that it was life changing. It was absolutely life changing. And to have been in business for so long and not known about it is sad. I mean, it's something that I wish I had known on day one because it would have changed the trajectory of our lives.
Well,
So,
it has now. And it's doing
yes.
powerful work. Thank you again, Mary. That wraps up this episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. And for all of those listening, if you found value in the things Mary shared with us today, which I did, I hope you will like and share and do all the things so other seven figure business owners can also benefit from and learn from this episode and others. Continue to strive, grow, build, and especially care as you grow your businesses. Until next time.